The gymnasium of Lincoln High School in Durham, North Carolina, buzzed with restless energy, the air thick with the scent of polished wood and teenage anticipation. Rows of students filled the bleachers, their chatter echoing off the high ceilings as sunlight poured through tall windows, glinting off the school's championship banners. Today was the annual spring assembly, meant to celebrate academic achievements. But for one student, it was about to become a battleground. At the center of the front row sat Malik Thompson, a 16-year-old junior with deep brown eyes and a quiet confidence that drew people to him. His navy blazer was slightly worn at the cuffs, a hand-me-down from his older brother, but he wore it with pride. Malik's hands rested on a notebook filled with poetry, his secret passion, though he was better known for his track records and debate team wins. He glanced at his best friend, Kayla, who gave him a reassuring nod from the next seat. On the stage, Principal Richard Hargrove, a stern man in his 50s with thinning hair and a permanent scowl, adjusted his tie, his voice booming through the microphone. "Discipline is the backbone of success," he began, his eyes scanning the crowd. Malik felt a prickle of unease as Hargrove's gaze lingered on him, a look he'd come to recognize, one that saw his black skin before anything else. Today, that look would spark a chain of events no one could predict. Hargrove's speech took a sharp turn, his tone growing accusatory. "Some students think they're above the rules," he said, his eyes locking on Malik. The gym fell silent, students exchanging glances. Malik's heart raced, but he kept his expression neutral, his hands tightening on his notebook. He'd been called out before, dress code violations, minor tardiness, but never like this, in front of the entire school. "Mr. Thompson," Hargrove continued, his voice dripping with disdain, "stand up." Malik hesitated, then rose, his 6-foot frame drawing every eye. "This student thinks he can disrupt my school with his antics. Yesterday, he was caught loitering in the library after hours." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Malik's jaw clenched. He'd been researching for a debate, with the librarian's permission, but Hargrove didn't mention that. Kayla whispered, "Dear, this ain't right. Malik." He nodded slightly, his mind racing. Hargrove's words grew harsher. "You're on thin ice, young man. One more step, and you're out." The principal's smirk was unmistakable, a power play meant to humiliate. Malik sat down, his face burning, but his eyes held a spark of defiance. He didn't know it yet, but this moment would change everything. Unbeknownst to Hargrove, Malik was no ordinary student. His father, James Thompson, was Durham's mayor, a charismatic leader elected on a platform of equity and reform. Malik kept his father's identity quiet at school, wanting to earn respect on his own terms. Only Kayla and a few teachers knew, and Malik preferred it that way, avoiding the spotlight of his father's fame. At home, Malik was the youngest of 3, raised in a modest house despite his father's position. His mother, Aisha, a community organizer, taught him to stand tall against injustice, while James instilled a love for words and strategy. Malik's poetry was his outlet, capturing his dreams and frustrations, including the subtle racism he faced at Lincoln High. Hargrove's latest attack, though, felt personal. A line crossed. As the assembly ended, students whispered, some shooting Malik sympathetic looks, others smirking. Kayla grabbed his arm, her voice fierce. "He's got no right, Malik. You gonna let this slide?" Malik shook his head, his voice low. "Not this time." He felt a fire igniting, one that would soon expose secrets far beyond the principal's bias. In the hallway, Malik navigated a sea of stairs, his head high despite the weight of humiliation. Kayla walked beside him, her braids swinging as she ranted. "Hargrove's been gunning for you all year. It's 'cause you're black and better than his favorites." Malik nodded, but his mind was elsewhere, replaying Hargrove's words. He'd faced microaggressions before, but this was public, deliberate. At his locker, Malik found a note slipped through the vent. "Know your place." His stomach twisted, but he crumpled it, tossing it into the trash. He pulled out his phone, texting his older sister Nia, a law student. "Hargrove just embarrassed me in front of everyone. Need advice." Nia's reply was instant. "Call Dad. This is bigger than you think." Malik hesitated, not wanting to burden his father, but Nia's words stuck. In the cafeteria, Malik sat with Kayla and their friend Jamal, a tech whiz who'd been filming the assembly for the school's YouTube channel. "I got it all on video, man," Jamal said, his eyes serious. "Hargrove's done." Malik's lips twitched into a faint smile. The video was a weapon, but he wasn't sure how to use it yet. Principal Hargrove sat in his office, the door closed, his fingers drumming on his desk. He'd targeted Malik for months, irritated by the boy's confidence and popularity. To Hargrove, Malik was a threat to the status quo, a black student excelling in a school where he favored the children of Durham's elite. But Hargrove had no idea who Malik's father was, a miscalculation that would soon unravel his career. Hargrove's secretary, Ms. Carter, a kind woman who'd taught Malik in middle school, overheard him on the phone. "I'm keeping that Thompson kid in check," he said, his voice smug. "He's too big for his britches." Ms. Carter frowned, her loyalty to Hargrove waning. She'd seen Malik's kindness, his drive, and Hargrove's bias grated on her sense of fairness. As Hargrove hung up, he noticed Ms. Carter lingering. "Something to say?" he snapped. She shook her head, but her mind raced. She'd known Malik's family for years, attending church with Aisha. Quietly, she texted Aisha. "Hargrove's out of line with Malik. Be careful." The message was a spark, one that would ignite a reckoning. That evening, Malik sat at his family's dining table, the aroma of Aisha's jerk chicken filling the air. James, still in his mayor's suit, listened as Malik recounted the assembly. Nia, home for the weekend, leaned forward, her eyes blazing. "This isn't just bullying, Malik. It's racial profiling. Hargrove's got a history." Aisha's voice was calm but fierce. "You've got your father's strength, Malik, but you don't have to fight alone." James nodded, his face grave. "I've heard whispers about Hargrove, favoritism, unfair suspensions, mostly for black kids. We need proof." Malik hesitated, then mentioned Jamal's video. Nia grinned. "That's our leverage. Let's use it smart." As Malik cleared the table, James pulled him aside. "I'm proud of you for standing tall, but this fight's gonna get messy. You ready?" Malik nodded, his father's words bolstering him. He didn't want to be the mayor's son, but he'd use every tool to expose Hargrove's injustice. The next morning, Jamal uploaded the assembly video to X, titled, "Principal Shames Student Unfairly." By lunch, it had thousands of views, with comments flooding in. "This is racism." "Fire Hargrove!" Malik watched the numbers climb, his stomach churning. He hadn't expected it to spread so fast, but Kayla high-fived him. "This is justice, Malik!" At school, tension crackled. Students whispered in the halls, some avoiding Malik, others offering support. Hargrove called an emergency staff meeting, his face red as he demanded the video's removal. "This is defamation!" he shouted. Ms. Carter, sitting quietly, texted Aisha again. "He's losing control." Malik's phone buzzed with a call from James. "The video's got the city talking, son. I'm meeting with the school board tonight. Stay sharp." Malik nodded, feeling the weight of his unintended spotlight. He wasn't just fighting for himself now. He was fighting for every kid Hargrove had wronged. Hargrove didn't back down. That afternoon, he called Malik to his office, his voice icy. "You think you can ruin me with a video? You're suspended for insubordination." Malik's heart sank, but he stood tall. "I didn't break any rules, sir. You know that." Hargrove smirked. "My school, my rules." As Malik left, he overheard Hargrove on the phone, his voice low. "Get me dirt on that Thompson kid. I want him gone." Malik's blood ran cold. He texted Nia, who replied, "Record everything." He's digging his own grave. Malik slipped his phone into his pocket, its voice recorder on, a new weapon in his arsenal. In the hallway, Kayla and Jamal met him, their faces grim. "He's coming for you, Malik," Jamal said. "But we've got your back." Kayla nodded, her eyes fierce. "And so does half the city." Malik smiled faintly, their loyalty grounding him. The fight was escalating and he was ready. That evening, James addressed the school board, his presence commanding. "My son was targeted because of his race," he said, holding up a tablet playing Jamal's video. "Hargrove's pattern of bias must end." The board, uneasy, promised an investigation, but James sensed resistance. Hargrove had allies among Durham's elite. Aisha organized a community meeting at their church, drawing parents, students, and activists. Malik spoke, his voice steady despite nerves. "I'm not just fighting for me. I'm fighting for every kid who's been unfairly punished." The crowd applauded, their support a shield against Hargrove's retaliation. Back home, Nia reviewed Malik's recording from Hargrove's office. "This is gold," she said, grinning. "He's threatening you on tape. We'll use it, but we need more evidence." Malik nodded, his resolve hardening. He was the mayor's son, but this was his fight, and he'd win it his way. Unbeknownst to Malik, Hargrove was part of a deeper scheme. For years, he'd favored students whose parents donated to the school, skewing opportunities toward wealthy, mostly white families. Black and Latino students like Malik faced harsher discipline, their complaints ignored. Hargrove's allies, including a school board member, protected him, fearing exposure. Ms. Carter, tired of Hargrove's corruption, slipped Malik a flash drive during study hall. "This has emails between Hargrove and donors," she whispered. "Be careful." Malik's heart raced as he pocketed it, thanking her with a nod. He didn't know the full scope yet, but the drive was a key to unlocking Hargrove's secrets. At home, Nia and Malik reviewed the emails, their eyes widening. "He's been rigging scholarships and suspensions for years," Nia said. "This goes beyond you, Malik." They sent the files to James, who contacted a trusted journalist. The stage was set for a reckoning, but Hargrove wasn't done fighting. The next day, Hargrove doubled down, announcing Malik's suspension over the intercom. "Disrespect will not be tolerated," he said, his voice smug. Students protested, chanting, "Justice for Malik," in the courtyard. Kayla live-streamed it on X, the video gaining traction with #FireHargrove trending. Malik, barred from school, met with his family and their lawyer, Ms. Jenkins. "The emails are damning," she said, "but we need a public moment to expose Hargrove." James suggested a town hall where Malik could confront the principal directly. "You up for it, son?" Malik nodded, his poetry notebook in hand. "I've got something to say." Hargrove, sensing the tide turning, called his allies, his voice frantic. "That kid's father is the mayor? Why didn't anyone tell me?" His board contact promised to bury the emails, but the journalist was already digging. Hargrove's empire was crumbling, and Malik was at the center. The town hall was packed, the community center's lights blazing as cameras rolled. Malik sat on stage with James, Aisha, and Ms. Jenkins, facing Hargrove and the school board. The principal's face was pale, his tie askew, but he maintained a defiant smirk. "This is a witch hunt," he said, addressing the crowd. "Malik Thompson is a troublemaker." Malik stood, his voice clear. "I'm not here to cause trouble. I'm here for justice." He recounted Hargrove's bias, the assembly shaming and the suspension, holding up his notebook. "I wrote a poem about what it's like to be judged before you speak." He read, his words raw. "They see my skin, not my soul. Chains of bias, taking their toll." The crowd erupted, moved. Hargrove scoffed, but James stepped forward, revealing the emails. "Hargrove's been favoring donors' kids while punishing others, especially black students." The crowd gasped, boos rising. Hargrove's allies shifted uncomfortably, their power slipping. Malik felt a surge of hope. This was his moment. As the crowd's anger grew, Ms. Jenkins played Malik's recording from Hargrove's office, the principal's threat echoing, "I want him gone." Gasps filled the room, Hargrove's face draining of color. "That's taken out of context," he shouted, but the crowd wasn't buying it. Kayla's live stream hit millions, #Hargrove exposed, trending globally. Then came the twist. Ms. Carter took the stage, her voice trembling but resolute. "I've seen Hargrove destroy kids' futures for years. He tried to bribe me to stay quiet." She held up a check, signed by Hargrove, offering hush money. The crowd roared, cameras flashing. Hargrove stood shouting, "She's lying!" But the evidence was undeniable. Malik met Ms. Carter's eyes, nodding in gratitude. She'd risked everything to back him, a quiet hero in his fight. The school board chair, cornered, announced Hargrove's immediate suspension, pending investigation. Malik's heart soared, but he knew the battle wasn't over. Outside, students and parents rallied, holding signs, "Equity for all," and "Malik's voice matters." Kayla and Jamal led chants, their phones capturing the movement. Malik joined them, his voice hoarse but strong. "This isn't just my fight, it's ours." The crowd cheered, their unity a force Hargrove couldn't break. Aisha organized a petition for Hargrove's permanent removal, gathering thousands of signatures overnight. James worked with the board, pushing for systemic reforms. "My son's shown us the way," he said at a press conference, Malik by his side. The mayor's son had become a symbol of change. Malik's phone buzzed with messages from across the country, students sharing their own stories of bias. He read them, moved. "We're starting something big," he told Kayla. She grinned. "And you're leading it, poet?" Malik laughed, his heart light despite the challenges ahead. Hargrove's allies didn't go quietly. A smear campaign emerged, with anonymous posts on X accusing Malik of faking the video and emails. "He's using his dad's power," one read, gaining traction among Hargrove's supporters. Malik's suspension remained, pending a hearing, and he felt the pressure mounting. At school, some teachers gave Malik cold looks, loyal to Hargrove. A group of students, led by a donor's son, vandalized his locker, scrawling, "Snitch." Kayla snapped a photo, posting it with the #StandWithMalik. "They're scared," she told him. "Keep going." Malik nodded, but the attacks stung. Nia coached him for the hearing, her voice firm. "They'll try to twist your words, but you got the truth." Malik practiced his statement, his poetry fueling his resolve. He wasn't just the mayor's son, he was Malik Thompson, and he'd fight for his name. The school board hearing was tense, held in a packed auditorium. Malik sat with Ms. Jenkins, facing Hargrove and his lawyer. The principal's allies presented doctored records, claiming Malik had a history of disruption. "He's no victim," Hargrove's lawyer said, smirking. Malik's heart raced, but he stayed calm. Ms. Jenkins countered, presenting the emails, recording, and Ms. Carter's check. "This is a pattern of corruption," she said, her voice commanding. Malik took the stand, his notebook in hand. "I didn't ask for this fight," he said, "but I won't back down when kids are hurt." His words struck a chord, the crowd murmuring in support. The board deliberated, tension thick. Kayla live-streamed, her followers rallying online. When the chair returned, her voice was grave. "Mr. Hargrove is terminated, effective immediately. Malik's suspension is lifted." The crowd erupted, Malik exhaling in relief. Justice had won, but the war wasn't over. A week later, Lincoln High announced Ms. Carter as interim principal, her integrity earning the role. She called Malik to her office, her smile warm. "You've changed this school, Malik. I'm proud to lead it now." He nodded, grateful. "Just keep it fair." Ms. Carter students welcomed Malik back with cheers, his locker now covered in supportive notes. Kayla and Jamal threw a mini-party in the cafeteria, with cupcakes reading "Malik's back." He laughed, his heart full. The video's impact lingered, sparking protests at other schools facing bias. At home, James hugged him. "You're my hero, son." Malik smiled. "Just doing what you taught me." But he knew Hargrove's allies were still out there, plotting. He'd need to stay vigilant, his poetry notebook his shield. Malik's story went national, with CNN interviewing him about student rights. "Every kid deserves a fair shot," he said, his poetry quoted in headlines. Malik Thompson trended, inspiring youth-led campaigns against school bias. Malik read their messages, moved by their courage. Aisha's petition led to statewide audits of school discipline, uncovering more cases like Malik's. James pushed for legislation, naming it the Malik Thompson Act. "My son's fight is for all kids," he said at a rally, Malik beside him, holding his notebook. Malik started a poetry club at school, encouraging students to share their truths. Kayla joined, her spoken word fierce. "You're building something real," she told him. Malik nodded, his vision clear. A world where no kid felt silenced. One night, Malik found his car's windshield smashed, a note reading, "You'll regret this." His heart pounded, but he called James, who alerted police. "Hargrove's allies," James said grimly. "They're desperate." Security cameras caught a figure, linked to a former board member. Aisha moved Malik to a safe house, her voice fierce. "They won't touch you." Malik nodded, but fear lingered. He wrote a poem, "Shadows Can't Stop Light," posting it on X. Fans shared it, their support a shield. "You're unstoppable," Kayla texted. Police arrested the culprit, exposing a network of Hargrove's backers. Malik exhaled, relief washing over him. His fight had cleaned a system, but the scars remained. He'd carry them with pride, his poetry a testament. Months later, Malik won a national poetry scholarship, his work published in a youth anthology. At the ceremony, Ms. Carter presented it, her voice proud. "Malik's words are a beacon," she said. He read his poem, the crowd standing, tears in their eyes. James and Aisha watched, their pride palpable. Nia whispered, "You're changing the game, lil bro." Malik smiled, dedicating the award to every kid who's been told they're not enough. The moment went viral, shared with #MalikPoetry. Backstage, Kayla hugged him. "You're a legend, Malik," he laughed. "Just a kid with a pen." But he knew his words had power, and he'd use them to keep fighting. Lincoln High changed under Ms. Carter, with equity training and student councils ensuring fairness. Malik led the council, his voice shaping policies. "No more Hargroves," he told Jamal, who nodded, filming their work for X. The school's culture shifted, a model for others. Parents thanked Malik at open houses, their stories mirroring his. "You gave my son hope," one said, tears falling. Malik nodded, moved. His fight had rippled, healing wounds he hadn't seen. At home, Malik framed his scholarship certificate beside a photo of his family. "This is just the start," he told Aisha. She smiled. You're unstoppable, baby. Malik's notebook brimmed with new poems, each a step toward justice. Malik spoke at a TEDx youth event, his poem Unseen Chains captivating millions online. Bias binds us, but truth breaks free, he said, his voice resonant. The audience stood, sharing clips with hashtag Unseen Chains. Malik's story became a movement, inspiring reform. James joined him at a White House summit on education equity, where Malik met the president. Your courage is historic, they said. Malik nodded, humbled. I'm just speaking my truth. His notebook, now a symbol, sat on the table, its pages worn but powerful. Back home, Kayla and Jamal threw a watch party, cheering as Malik's speech aired. You're global, man, Jamal said. Malik laughed, but his heart was with Durham's kids, his fight rooted in their dreams. Years later, Malik graduated valedictorian, his speech quoting his poem, We rise not alone, but together. Lincoln High's auditorium roared, Miss Carter wiping tears. The Malik Thompson Act passed, ensuring fair discipline nationwide. Malik's fight had reshaped schools. He attended Duke University, majoring in English and policy, his poetry published widely. Nia, now a lawyer, worked with him on youth advocacy. You're my hero, she said, grinning. Malik shook his head. We're a team. A mural of Malik with his notebook rose in Durham, captioned, Speak your truth. Kids visited, inspired. Malik smiled, knowing his humiliation had birthed a legacy of light. Malik's story inspired global school reforms, with students citing him in campaigns. He showed us how, a London teen said on X, sharing Malik inspired. Malik read, mentoring remotely his poetry club now international. Lincoln High became a beacon, with Ms. Carter honored nationally. She credited Malik, saying, He lit the way for us all. Students shared her speech, their pride viral. Malik visited, seeing kids thrive in fairness he'd fought for. At home, Malik wrote, his notebook a chronicle of change. One voice, one fight, he penned, but a million dreams. His words lived, sparking hope. At 21, Malik published his memoir, Unseen Chains, a bestseller. At its launch, he thanked his family, Kayla and Jamal, his voice raw. This is for every kid who's been silenced. Fans shared quotes, hashtag Malik Memoir trending. James, retired but active, spoke at the mayor, his pride evident. My son taught me courage. Aisha hugged Malik, her tears joyful. You're our legacy. Malik nodded, his heart full, dedicating the book to Durham's youth. Kayla, now a journalist, reviewed it, writing, Malik's words are a revolution. They laughed, planning a youth summit, their friendship enduring. Malik's fight wasn't over, but he'd won. Malik keynoted a UN youth conference, his poetry uniting delegates. Your truth is your power, he said, holding his notebook. Clips spread, number Malik Truths trending. He launched a foundation, Malik's Voice, funding arts for marginalized kids. Nia joined as legal counsel, her grin fierce. We're changing the world, lil bro. Malik nodded, seeing kids' art at his gallery, their voices echoing his. They're the change. His notebook displayed inspired visitors to write their truths. Back in Durham, Malik visited the mural, kids drawing beside it. You're like us, one said. Malik knelt. Exactly. Keep speaking. Their smiles lit his path, a fire that wouldn't fade. Malik returned to Lincoln High as a guest teacher, sharing poetry with students. Your words can change, he said, their notebooks open. They wrote, inspired, some sharing stories of bias overcome. Malik listened, his heart swelling. Ms. Carter retired, naming Malik her inspiration. You rebuilt this school, she said, hugging him. He shook his head. You did. I just spoke. A new principal, a former student, vowed to honor Malik's legacy, ensuring equity. At home, Malik framed a student's poem beside his own. They're the future, he told Aisha. She nodded, and you're their spark. Malik's notebook grew, his words a bridge to tomorrow. Malik's foundation opened schools worldwide, each with poetry labs. Kids sent him their work, their voices echoing his fight. You showed us, a Brazilian wrote, sharing hashtag Malik Legacy. Malik smiled, their courage his fuel. Durham renamed a park Malik Thompson Park with a stage for poets. He performed there, his words soaring, "We break chains with love and truth." The crowd shared, his message eternal. Kayla filmed, her lens on kids inspired. Malik visited, seeing families thrive. His fight, born in a gymnasium, had reshaped a world. We did this together, he said, his heart full. His notebook, a relic, lived in their stories. Malik, now 30, ran for Congress, his platform equity and youth. At a rally, he held his notebook, reading a poem. From shadows to stars, we rise. Voters cheered, hashtag Malik for Change trending. His voice, once silenced, now led millions. Nia, his campaign manager, grinned. You're unstoppable, bro. James and Aisha campaigned, their pride radiant. Kayla reported, her stories amplifying Malik's vision. He's still ours, she wrote, Durham cheering. Malik visited Lincoln High, kids reciting his poems. You're our hero, one said. He smiled. You're mine. Their notebooks sparkled, a new generation ready. Malik's fight was theirs now. Malik closed his campaign with a speech, his notebook open. I was humiliated, but I spoke my truth. They didn't know I'd rise, didn't know we'd change the world. Your truth can too. The crowd roared, sharing hashtag Speak Your Truth. A girl approached, holding a poem. You made me brave, she said. Malik knelt, reading it, tears in his eyes. You're the future. Keep shining. She nodded, her voice strong. His story lived in her, a fire that wouldn't dim. As Malik walked away, the crowd chanted his name. What's your truth? He asked, urging shares. Tell us below. Let's change the world together. Their stories flooded, Malik's fight a beacon, proving one voice could spark a revolution.